The vast, quiet corridors of the Vela Prime outpost hummed softly as Captain Daniel Reyes paced the central control room. It was Christmas Eve, and while the outpost's small crew tried to conjure some semblance of holiday cheer, Daniel felt the weight of isolation. The galaxy was vast, and their station was an insignificant speck in its fabric. The monotony was broken by an incoming transmission. The emblem of the galactic king Zaranth of Oriana, a reclusive yet powerful alien monarch, shimmered on the screen. The crew exchanged confused glances before Daniel answered the call. A holographic image of the king appeared, his towering form adorned with elaborate ceremonial armor. "Captain Rise," the deep, resonant voice began, "as a gesture of goodwill during your Earth holiday, I bestow upon you a most precious gift." Daniel frowned. "With respect, Your Majesty, I don't understand. A gift?" "You will," Zaranth replied cryptically. "Treat them well. They are yours now." Before Daniel could protest, the transmission ended abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Minutes later, the docking bay alarm blared. A sleek Oriana transport vessel arrived, its hatch hissing open to reveal two figures, a regal, violet-skinned woman and a small, wide-eyed child. The woman, dressed in tattered yet elegant robes, stepped forward, her chin held high despite her weary expression. "I am Lyris, widow of Oriana's royal court," she said, her voice strong yet tinged with sorrow. "This is my daughter, Mira. We have been sent to you." Daniel's mind raced. "Sent? What do you mean?" Lyris's gaze was steady but guarded. "King Zaranth has decreed it. We are your gift." The crew of the outpost buzzed with confusion as Daniel escorted Lyris and Mira to a quieter space. Inside his modest quarters, Daniel tried to make sense of the situation. "Sent as a gift?" Daniel asked, pacing the room. "People aren't gifts. This is absurd." Lyris, sitting with Mira perched on her lap, remained composed. "On Oriana, bonds of trust are often solidified through gestures like this. To Zaranth, we are symbols of goodwill. After my husband's death, I was deemed expendable." Daniel's pacing slowed as her words sank in. "He exiled you," he said quietly, realization dawning, "and now he's masking it as a diplomatic gesture." Lyris's nod was barely perceptible. "My daughter and I are now under your protection, whatever that entails." Daniel looked at Mira, who clutched a small doll tightly to her chest. Her large, luminous eyes watched him with a mix of fear and curiosity. He knelt down, his voice softening. "You're safe here, Mira, I promise." Mira didn't reply, but she relaxed slightly, leaning into her mother. Over the next few days, Lyris and Mira began to settle into life at the outpost. The crew, though initially unsure how to interact with their unusual guests, soon grew fond of them. Mira's laughter brought a warmth that had been missing from the cold, utilitarian station, while Lyris's regal demeanor masked her adaptability and sharp intellect. Daniel, however, couldn't shake his unease. One evening, he found Lyris in the observation lounge, gazing at the stars. "I don't understand why you're so calm about this," he said, sitting beside her. Lyris's expression remained serene, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of pain. "Because I have no choice. My daughter's safety depends on it." "You're not just a gift, Lyris," Daniel said firmly. "You're a person, and you deserve more than this." Lyris turned to him, a small, grateful smile gracing her lips. "And yet, here we are. I only hope we don't burden you further." "You're not a burden," Daniel replied, his tone resolute. "Not to me or anyone here." For the first time, Lyris allowed herself to hope that this strange new chapter of her life might not be as bleak as it seemed. In the days that followed, Lyris and Mira became an integral part of life on the Vela Prime outpost. Lyris, with her sharp mind and regal composure, found herself drawn to the medical bay. Though she claimed no formal training, her natural aptitude for care and problem-solving quickly earned the respect of the outpost's medic, Dr. Callan. "You've done this before," Dr. Callan observed one day as Lyris expertly dressed a minor wound on a crew member. Lyris smiled faintly. "In another life, I managed the welfare of an entire court. Healing is merely an extension of care." Meanwhile, Mira roamed the outpost, her curiosity boundless. She latched onto Captain Daniel Reyes, following him as he performed his rounds. Though Daniel had never envisioned himself as a father figure, Mira's innocence and trust began to melt the walls he had built around himself. "Why do you wear that?" Mira asked one day, pointing to the badge on Daniel's uniform. "It's my rank," he explained. "It shows I'm in charge." Mira tilted her head. Mama says leaders are like stars, they guide people. Are you a star? Daniel chuckled, caught off guard. I don't know about that, but I try to help where I can. Mira nodded solemnly. Then you are. That evening, Daniel found Lyris in the observation lounge, watching Mira play with a small, makeshift toy one of the crew had crafted for her. The sight was a rare moment of peace amidst the uncertainty. You've done well here, Daniel said, leaning against the doorway. The crew respects you, and Mira's thriving. Lyris turned to him, her expression thoughtful. You've given us a chance, Daniel. More than that, you've given us safety. I never thought we'd find that again. Daniel shrugged, his gaze softening. It's what anyone should do. Lyris hesitated, then spoke. Not everyone would. You've done more than offer shelter, you've given us hope. For a moment their eyes met, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Daniel felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in years, a sense of belonging he hadn't realized he was missing. The tranquility of the outpost was disrupted one morning when the perimeter sensors detected an unauthorized ship entering Vela Prime's orbit. Daniel immediately convened his senior officers, the tension in the room palpable. It's Oriana Tech, said Lieutenant Harris, scanning the readings. Looks like a scout ship, but it could mean more are coming. Daniel's jaw tightened. If they're here for Lyris and Mira, we can't let them take them. Lyris entered the room, her presence commanding despite the urgency of the moment. They'll want me alive, she said calmly. Mira, too. We're bargaining chips for anyone seeking favor with King Zaranth. Then we make sure they don't get near you, Daniel said, his voice firm. Lyris shook her head. I won't cower while others risk their lives for us. I can help. You already are, Daniel replied. By staying safe, you're giving us something to fight for. The scout ship landed near the outpost's perimeter, and a small team of heavily armed mercenaries emerged, their intent clear. Daniel and his crew met them head-on, using the outpost's defenses to repel the initial assault. Lyris, watching from the control room, clenched her fists. They won't stop, she muttered. Dr. Callan placed a hand on her shoulder. They underestimated us, and they didn't count on the captain. Daniel led the charge, his strategic mind turning the outpost's terrain into a weapon. The crew, inspired by his resolve, fought with determination, driving the mercenaries back. As the enemy retreated to their ship, Daniel issued a final warning through the comms. You come back, and we'll be ready. After the attack, the crew began fortifying the outpost, preparing for the possibility of a larger assault. Lyris worked tirelessly alongside them, her leadership skills shining through as she organized supplies and coordinated defensive efforts. You're a natural at this, Daniel remarked as they reviewed the outpost's security upgrades. Lyris smiled faintly. It's what I was trained for, though I never imagined I'd use it like this. Daniel met her gaze, his admiration evident. You're stronger than you know. Lyris's expression softened. So are you, Daniel. More than you realize. In that moment, amidst the chaos of preparation, the connection between them deepened, an unspoken bond forming as they faced the challenges ahead together. The outpost was alive with activity as the crew fortified their defenses. Captain Daniel Reyes and Lyris worked side by side, their shared determination evident in every decision. Though the tension was palpable, Lyris's calm presence was a source of strength for everyone. As night fell, Daniel found Lyris in the observation lounge, her gaze fixed on the stars. She turned as he entered, offering a faint smile. The crew looks to you with such trust, she said softly. It's remarkable. Daniel shrugged, sitting beside her. I'm just doing what needs to be done. Don't downplay it, Lyris replied. You've given them, and us, something rare out here, a sense of belonging. Daniel's expression softened. You've done the same, you know. The crew admires you. Mira's thriving because of you. Lyris looked away, her voice quieter. I only hope I can protect her from what's coming. You won't have to do it alone, Daniel said firmly. We'll face it together. Meanwhile, Mira had grown curious about the preparations. She watched the crew reinforce walls and test weapons, her wide eyes filled with both awe and fear. One evening, she approached Daniel as he inspected the perimeter. Are the bad people coming back? She asked, clutching her doll tightly. Daniel knelt to her level, his voice gentle. They might, but we're ready for them. Mira tilted her head. You'll protect Mama and me? Always, Daniel promised. That's what families do. Mira's smile was small but sincere. You're like a star guiding us. Daniel chuckled, her words warming his heart. Then I'll shine as bright as I can. The peace of the outpost was shattered at dawn. Perimeter alarms blared as a fleet of enemy ships descended, their silhouettes ominous against the rising sun. Daniel and his crew sprang into action, their preparations put to the ultimate test. From the control room, Lyris coordinated the defense with the precision of a seasoned strategist. Her commanding presence was undeniable, her voice steady as she relayed orders. Deploy the second wave of drones to the north, redirect power to the western shields. Daniel, on the front lines, led the crew with unyielding resolve. Using the terrain and the outpost's defenses, he turned the battle into a calculated fight rather than a chaotic skirmish. As the battle raged, the attackers deployed a heavy assault unit, a massive walker that began tearing through the outpost's defenses. Lyris, monitoring the fight from the control room, realized the danger. Captain Reyes, she called over the comms, that walker will breach the main structure. We need to disable it now. Daniel's voice crackled back. I see it. I'll handle it. Without hesitation, Daniel led a small team to flank the walker. The mission was dangerous, the odds slim, but he moved with precision and focus. Meanwhile, Lyris diverted resources to create an opening for him, her tactical decisions giving him the chance he needed. Daniel's team succeeded in disabling the walker, their coordinated effort turning the tide of the battle. The remaining attackers, realizing their defeat, retreated in disarray. The outpost stood battered but victorious. As the dust settled, Daniel returned to the control room, where Lyris awaited him. Her expression was a mixture of relief and gratitude. You did it, she said, her voice soft. We did it, Daniel corrected. Your strategies made all the difference. Lyris stepped closer, her emotions evident, and your courage gave us hope. In that moment, the bond between them solidified, their shared fight forging a connection deeper than either had anticipated. Together, they had protected not just the outpost, but the fragile family they were building. In the aftermath of the battle, the outpost began to rebuild. Though the scars of the assault were visible, the morale of the crew had never been higher. They had faced impossible odds and triumphed, and much of that victory was due to the partnership between Captain Daniel Reyes and Lyris. Lyris found herself more integrated into the life of the outpost than ever before. The crew sought her advice, admiring her calm under pressure and sharp tactical mind. Mira, meanwhile, had become a beacon of joy, her laughter echoing through the halls as she played with the crew. One evening, Daniel approached Lyris as she oversaw repairs in the main hangar. You've done more than just fit in here, he said. You've made this place better. Lyris looked at him, her gaze steady. I couldn't have done it without you. You've shown us what true leadership looks like. Daniel hesitated, then spoke with uncharacteristic vulnerability. You've shown me what it means to care about more than just the mission, to fight for people, not just duty. Later that night, Daniel and Lyris sat on the observation deck, watching the stars. The silence between them was comfortable, each lost in thought. You've changed this place, Daniel said finally, and me. Lyris smiled faintly. You've changed us too. Mira sees you as more than just a protector. She sees you as family. Daniel turned to her, his expression serious. What about you? What do you see? Lyris hesitated, the weight of her emotions clear. I see someone I can trust, someone who's shown me there's still hope, even after everything we've lost. Their gazes held, the unspoken feelings between them finally coming to the surface. For the first time, both allowed themselves to imagine a future that wasn't dictated by survival alone. As the outpost's repairs neared completion, Daniel received word of another potential threat. A larger fleet was moving through the sector, possibly aligned with those who had attacked them. The crew rallied, preparing for the worst, but there was no denying the tension in the air. Daniel gathered the crew in the central command room to address the situation. We've proven we can stand against anything, he said, his voice steady. But this fight is bigger than just us. It's about protecting what we've built here, our home, our family. His words resonated with everyone, but none more so than Lyris. After the meeting, she approached him, her resolve clear. You've led us through every storm, Daniel, but you don't have to do it alone. He studied her, recognizing the strength and sincerity in her words. I've never wanted to do it alone, not since you and Mira arrived." Later that evening, Daniel called Lyris to the observation deck, where they had shared so many quiet moments. The stars glittered above them as he turned to her, his heart pounding. "Lyris," he began, "when you and Mira came here, I thought it was just another mission. But it became so much more. You've shown me what it means to truly live, not just survive, and I don't want to face the future without you." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a simple ring he had crafted from scrap metal, a symbol of resilience and unity. "Will you stand with me, not just as allies, but as partners?" Lyris's breath caught, her eyes glistening. "You've given us a home, a family. There's nothing I want more than to stand with you." Their engagement brought a renewed sense of hope to the outpost. Mira, upon hearing the news, hugged Daniel tightly. "I knew you'd be our star," she said with a wide smile. As preparations for the impending threat continued, the crew rallied around Daniel and Lyris, their unity stronger than ever. Together, they prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that their bond was not just a symbol of survival, but a beacon of hope for everyone who called the outpost home. As the crew of Vela Prime Outpost prepared for the impending attack, the tension was palpable. The fleet that had been spotted on the outskirts of their sector was confirmed to be hostile, and their numbers dwarfed anything the outpost had faced before. Captain Daniel Reyes stood at the command center, surrounded by his senior officers and Lyris, his soon-to-be wife. "They'll hit us hard and fast," Daniel said, pointing to a holographic projection of the enemy's approach. "Our only chance is to exploit the terrain and make them think we're stronger than we are." Lyris stepped forward, her calm voice cutting through the tension. "If we can draw them into the asteroid field near the outer perimeter, their larger ships will struggle to maneuver. We could use the outpost drones to simulate a stronger fleet, forcing them to split their forces." Daniel nodded. "It's risky, but it's our best shot." As the plan was set into motion, Daniel and Lyris took a moment together in the armory. The weight of the impending battle loomed over them, but their bond was unshaken. "I've never had someone fight for me like this," Lyris admitted, her voice soft but steady. Daniel took her hand, his grip firm. "You fought just as hard, Lyris. We're in this together." She leaned her forehead against his, their connection grounding them in the chaos. "For Mira. For all of us." "For us," Daniel echoed, his resolve hardening. The enemy fleet arrived at dawn, their ships blotting out the light of the twin suns. The outpost's automated drones launched a series of calculated attacks, luring the larger vessels into the asteroid field. As the enemy splintered their forces, Daniel led a strike team to intercept their ground troops, while Lyris coordinated the defense from the command center. Mira, safely hidden in a reinforced bunker, watched the battle unfold on a small monitor. "Though afraid," she whispered, "they'll win. They always do." The battle raged for hours, the outpost defenders fighting with unyielding determination. Daniel's strategic maneuvers and Lyris's tactical brilliance turned the tide, their combined efforts forcing the enemy into a full retreat. As the last enemy ship vanished into the horizon, the outpost erupted in cheers. The crew's victory was hard-won, a testament to their resilience and unity. In the aftermath of the battle, Daniel and Lyris gathered the crew in the central hall. Despite their exhaustion, a sense of joy filled the air. Mira, beaming with pride, stood between them as Daniel addressed the group. "This isn't just a victory," he said. "It's proof that we're stronger together. That no matter the odds, we can overcome anything as long as we stand as one." He turned to Lyris, taking her hands in his. "And today, I want to honor not just what we've built here, but the family we've become." Before the assembled crew, Daniel and Lyris exchanged vows, their union symbolizing the strength of their bond and the hope they had brought to the outpost. With the battle behind them, the outpost thrived. Refugees and allies from nearby systems arrived, inspired by the story of their victory. Lyris took on a leadership role alongside Daniel, her wisdom and grace a beacon for the growing community. Mira, now the heart of the outpost, often reminded everyone of the love and unity that had brought them together. One evening, as she sat with Daniel and Lyris under the stars, she said, "We're a family now, aren't we?" Daniel smiled, his arm around Lyris. "The strongest kind." As the stars shimmered above, the outpost stood as a testament to their resilience, love, and the unbreakable bond they had forged. Together, they faced the future with hope, ready for whatever challenges the galaxy had in store.